I thought today while I'm sewing, I would talk to you guys a little bit about how I got into cycling. I don't know if I've ever really shared the story with you. It started back in 2013. My boss, my current boss, is an avid cyclist, and he was trying to get me into cycling. He would always, try to get me to buy a bike and stuff. But I was a smoker. I smoked cigarettes, so I had absolutely no interest. My boyfriend at the time worked for a bicycle company, and it wasn't until the next year, 2014, when my father passed away, that I found myself really needing an outlet for my emotions and my stress. So he brought me home not a rental, but yeah, I guess a rental bike. And so I tried that out and I absolutely loved it. We went on the smallest bike ride. It was probably like 7 miles and like 300 feet of climbing. It was barely nothing, but there was this little hill that I could like barely get up. It was embarrassing to say the least, but I was immediately hooked. So I went home to Minnesota for my father's funeral, and while I was there, I ordered a bicycle. And by the time I got back to California, it was there waiting. I immediately started riding all the time, just around town, and I started biking to work actually, which was like 19 miles, pretty far. And I started getting into group rides through Mike's Bikes. They would do a Wednesday night group ride, and I met people through that. And on Strava, they always list like Rapha challenges, and the first one I did was Rapha Rising, where you have to climb 8,000 meters in a week. It's like climbing Mount Tam every single day for 7 days in a row. Kicked my ass. And then I did the women's 100, which is 60 miles in one day. That was the longest I had biked in one day at the time. And it just slowly grew from there. I then had to learn how to use clip shoes. The first time I biked to the top of Mount Tam, I was wearing sneakers, which I cannot believe I did that. It's so much less power if you guys don't know. So I learned how to use clips, which took me a long time. I remember the first time I was in a parking lot and there was this woman trying to park, and we were both just kind of like trying to figure out what to do and who was going where. And I ended up just tipping over, and the lady felt so bad for me, thinking that it was her fault. Of course it wasn't. I've tipped over on Highway 1. I've tipped over in Tam Junction. The person who was teaching me, it was just so much going on. I was learning how to ride a bike. I was learning how to shift. I was learning how to brake. I was learning road etiquette. And so to add on learning how to unclip just overloaded my brain. I couldn't figure it out. So I would have the person who was teaching me, every time that they would unclip, I would make them like wiggle their foot so that I knew that that was my signal that I had to unclip. So extra. But it did help. And once I was learning the other things, it started to become more natural. Then I decided to climb Mount Diablo for the first time, and it was so amazing. Such a pretty climb. But on my descent, probably the third corner from the top, I crashed on my way down. And if you've ever done Diablo, you probably know which corner I'm talking about. It's like a hairpin turn, and I totally pancaked out in the middle of the road. I grabbed my front handlebar brake. I don't know why I just said it like that. I grabbed my front brake and did like a flip over my handlebars and laid myself out in the middle of the road, and a hiker coming up the mountain saw me and helped me up off the road and helped me get my bike to the side. And the person I was cycling with once they realized I wasn't behind them, turned around and came back up. And I had to bike to the bottom of the hill after that. It was one of the scariest things I've ever done on a bike. I mean, you can't avoid it, but oh my God, crashing and then having to bike down was awful. And it took me a long time to climb to the top of a mountain again. I want to say it was probably a year before I climbed to the top of any mountain again. I just needed to build my confidence, and I needed to learn some real cornering skills and braking skills. And once I did those things and climbed to the top of the mountain, I was really just working on my confidence. It's such a game changer. If you have confidence, you're going to be such a better cyclist, more relaxed, just overall completely better. And so I did that for a while, and then I got into gravel bikes, got into mountain bikes. I've literally crashed on all of them. So my favorite now is road biking. I love to go fast. I love to climb. I love to descend really fast. I love how far you can go in one day on a road bike. I don't own a mountain bike. I would borrow a friend's. My little scar I have here, that kind of keeps me from mountain biking now. I got a really bad concussion and a face scar, which I'm not stoked on, but mountain biking is super fun. I do recommend it. It's just a little scary for me. I need to work on my skills before I do it more. But yeah, if you're trying to get into it, some people say that you don't need to spend a lot of money on a bike. I would argue with them, because the first bike I moved to California with was a bike that my parents had bought me in college for like $100 from Target. It was a piece of crap, and it weighed like 40 pounds. And if you're not into cycling, that's a really, really heavy bike. And so I would recommend, I mean, you don't have to get a brand new bike, but I would recommend something decent, because something lighter, something that shifts, something that actually works is going to make all the difference for you to keep up with people, not overwork yourself, like just to have a good time. You need a decent bike. I wouldn't say that you have to spend a lot of money on a kit or shoes. Those are kind of just standard. Yes, you need something comfortable, but they don't have to be expensive. And also a helmet. For me, a Specialized helmet is the most comfortable. I've tried a couple different ones, and that to me is the most comfortable. So just try some out, see what fits you good, see what you're comfortable with, and just go from there. Like here where I live, there's a store that has used stuff. So try and find something like that if you're just getting into it. You can find a used bike, you can find used shoes. I don't know if they sell kits, I'm pretty sure they do, but I would go that route first and just get yourself into it and surround yourself with a community from the bike shop or online through Strava. Connect through people that way and start riding with people. And you can reach out to cyclists on Instagram that you see and ask them questions, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you. You can always ask me any questions. And yeah, it's such a great outlet. I can't recommend it enough. You can get away, you can clear your head, have some time for yourself, and of course it's great exercise. I'm working on all these pockets. Yeah, I really hope that you guys feel comfortable enough to ask people questions if you're trying to get into it and you don't know how. For sure, reach out. I'll talk to you guys soon.